Mary, this brings us to the end of our first season of this podcast, the 12th and the final episode of season 1.
Wow. And sigh of relief.
No more work for you, drudging up old documents and...
No, it has been really very eye-opening, just the process of doing a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And
you said that your monasterial healthcare worker was asking when they can listen to this?
yes, I said that this is the final taping. And she said, "Oh, where can I listen to it?" I said, "Well, it's not posted yet, but I'll let you know."
Yeah. Well, I told you this already today when we came. I have to tell you a little bit of a story to then tell you what I'm about to tell you. So I think you know that in the past I've written music and recorded music and stuff like that, right?
I didn't know you wrote music.
Yeah, I have. I'll have to share some of that with you.
Please.
But in the process of writing and recording, you have 101 decisions to make. Like, do I like the way the guitar sounds here? Or should the piano have these notes instead? Or should it be played different? There's so many, there's an infinite variety of creative decisions to make. And there's no sort of necessary rule to follow, right? Because you're in the realm of art and creativity and music. And so I developed a sort of a personal standard by which I can decide if this thing is ready or not. And you know what it is?
No.
It's the smile test.
The smile test.
If I'm listening back to the music, a little performance that I've done, or listening to the song, and if it just makes me smile, if it brings a smile to me, that often is an indication that, okay, I'm in the right direction here, or even this is good. Like I can leave this part and go on to something else. If I don't have that smile effect or whatever, then I know there's something else to mine or to explore, right? Well, that's my long-winded way of saying that as I've listened back to some of the episodes, because I haven't listened to all of them, but as I've listened back to the episodes we've recorded, I have that smile experience many times over. And that's not to say that I think this is going to do X, Y, and Z in the world. That's to say I have a deep sense of joy and satisfaction in what we have done, and I'm proud of us.
Yeah, I can appreciate that, because this has been a hope and a dream of yours, and somehow you got me into this, and I have learned from it and enjoyed it. So I would say this is not the smell test, but the smile test.
That's right. Do you have a test to know if something you've done or created or been part of has been, satisfying and joyful for you?
I never thought of it this way, but when I think back to something I did recently, when I feel light, and yes, I could smile about it. Yes.
Well, the afternoon sunlight is lighting your face up right now, so I can tell that you seem light right now.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, for this final episode, again, kind of on the heels of the previous episode, which was very practical in nature, another extension of that conversation is, okay, practically speaking now, if people have been listening, if they've been following this journey, and now let's say they're wanting to find a director, how do they go about doing that? So this episode will feature a little bit of conversation on finding a director and some things to bear in mind in finding a director. And then towards the end, we'll just spend some time basking in the glow of our work.
As we're basking in the afternoon sun in this room.
Yeah, and then kind of bringing things to a close in that way. So kind of as a preface, I've noticed in the Protestant circle that spiritual direction has got much more, I don't know, popularity is maybe not the right word, but people are much more familiar with spiritual direction. Many more people are finding spiritual directors or even becoming trained as spiritual directors. Whereas 10 10, 20, 30 years ago, this was like, at least in my corner of the world, in my experience, nobody was talking about spiritual direction, right? So I've seen a real uptick in interest and engagement in spiritual direction. And I'm wondering, just as a way to begin, why do you think there is an increase or a surge in interest in spiritual direction?
That's a good question. At first, I want to say there's more being written about it, but I think there's more being written about it for a reason. And I think people are, since about maybe the 60s, people are taking hold of their spiritual lives in a different way than they had before. Before, I think we were taught prayers. You could say prayers, you could go to church and, hear prayers and be part of the Eucharist, part of a worship service. But I think since that time, people are more interested in developing something more personal.
Yeah.
And as they find things that are more personal, they've found a tradition that's old. This is not something new. It's not New Age. It didn't come out of, the any kind of It was in the early church and even prior, as we've mentioned in this series. So I think it's emerging from within people. And then people started writing about it, and schools started being created to teach people to teach people spirituality.
Yeah.
Because before that, it was mostly just theology and what do we believe.
That's right, yeah.
So I think it's a combination of forces. Yeah, that would be my thought.
Yeah. It's a mystery, isn't it? Like how to pin down why there is an openness or an interest. I think it is fair to say that there is a growing openness and interest. And maybe one of the best and truest things to say is it perhaps is just a move and a work of the Spirit in the lives of people, in the life of the church. Again, at least from my vantage point, it really does seem like there is positive movement and openness and just dynamism around spiritual direction. And I thank God for that. I really do.
Yeah, that we have spiritual lives. We aren't just doing spiritual things. We have spiritual lives, and people are more interested in where God shows up besides the church.
Yeah, right. And where can I ask my questions and share my experiences outside of the church? Yeah. Well, so perhaps people have been listening to this, and for some, maybe they have felt an increasing desire to find a spiritual director, or maybe they have had a director in the past, and then revisiting some of these themes and dynamics has given them a resurgence in that desire or something, right? Whatever the case may be, how could people go about finding a spiritual director?
There are a couple of ways that I could think of. Here in Manitoba, there is a website for spiritual directors of Manitoba. And there's pictures even, photos of people, and a little description of their approach to spiritual direction and some contact information.
Yeah.
So that's one. Another is the Spiritual Directors International organization. That's where I found my current spiritual director, because they were putting out, the organization was putting out a list of people who were available to take on new directees. So people might want to look up Spiritual Directors International.
Yeah.
And there'd be some contact information there.
That's right, yeah.
So those are the two that I think of. And if a person knows someone
yes,
nearby a friend or a neighbor or associate of some sort who has a spiritual director, start there.
Yeah, that's right.
They may be taking new people.
That's right. Yeah. I think with the wealth of resources online, I mean, honestly, you can just go Google spiritual direction, spiritual director in whatever city you find yourself. Or, like you said, beyond, given the virtual option, right? You can just begin researching and exploring who might I fit with, who might I be drawn to. And yeah, perhaps it's a photograph or a bio or a particular area of expertise or a specialty that they have. I think word of mouth is really good. Like if you hear that there is a spiritual director somewhere that you know people who have met with that person and they've had good experiences, often that could be at least a good place to begin with and say, could I talk with you and see if we could be a fit working together? Or do you have recommendations for people, right?
Some directors may be filled. They have, more than enough, and they will refer you to another person.
Yeah. Yeah. I know in the course of me looking for a director in various seasons, there have been particular longings that I've had. I want to meet with someone steeped in Ignatian spirituality. I want to meet with a woman, for the reasons I've mentioned before. And so maybe there are things in the heart and the mind of a person who's looking for a director that they could reflect on. Like, what is it that I'm longing for? Do I want someone who's older? Do I want someone who has a particular area of expertise like trauma or Benedictine spirituality or, whatever the case, the Enneagram, to just reflect on what are the stirrings and the longings in my own heart. And then again, like Google is a great resource. The internet's a great resource for narrowing down some of those options.
Yeah.
As you said, talking with the director too can help.
If you, in the search for a spiritual director, besides one's own longings or needs, what else would you look for to say, I think this person is somebody I would go and see?
Our brains work in tandem. It's literally in my notes. Yeah, the way I internalize that question is, are there any sort of generic non-negotiables to bear in mind for people as they're looking? And yes, I would say, obviously, somebody who's been trained, I think, is really important. I understand that if for some programs and for some students who are in training, part of their training is to begin meeting with directees. So that's a different dynamic, and there's reasons for that. But by and large, I would say, if you're looking for a spiritual director, to find somebody who's trained, who's been trained and kind of officially certified at least. That's pretty important. Someone who themselves is receiving spiritual direction and supervision for their practice of spiritual direction. And I think it can be helpful as well as somebody who's connected or affiliated with some larger spiritual direction association, like Spiritual Directors International. There's a number of ones around, because what that communicates is that, yes, they do, in fact, have the requisite training. They have agreed to ascribe to a certain code of conduct or ethics. They're kind of vetted in some ways,
Yes.
I think those would be things that I would say, aside from your own personal longings and interests, to bear in mind. How about you, Mary?
Well, I can't think of any others besides those that you mentioned. Just to say that once you connect with somebody that has agreed that they have availability, then to meet with them and get a sense
Great.
of what their strengths are. If you feel like kind of at a gut level, a heart level, that you can really share with this person. I mean, there are some sensitive areas. Is the person open to a variety of spiritual practices? Would they welcome do they welcome my gender, my orientation? these are important things.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
can sense, but you can also ask.
Yeah.
And I think good spiritual directors will welcome those kinds of questions.
Yes.
And I don't think any spiritual director would say, if you come to me once, you have to stay with me, or they would be offended if you said, thank you for this time.
Yeah.
I'm going to think about it. I think most spiritual directors feel that's what's appropriate.
Yeah, that's right.
So you don't have to feel like if I make this appointment, I have to see this person, I have to make a commitment. No, you don't have to sign on the dotted line.
That's right.
Just, go off and think about it.
That's
Did this
right,
fit
yeah.
my need?
Yeah. That's great. The meet and greet is really great. So maybe you read or you hear of a director that there's some inkling or some attraction, some nudge towards it. But then to reach out and to have a conversation, to ask questions, to have a sense of how do they respond to me? How do I feel with them? You can't read that on a page. You have to experience it, right? Because this is a person you're going to work with.
Yeah.
You're going to open your heart and your life to.
Yeah.
And you can sometimes tell from a meeting better whether that's going to be sustainable for you or not, right?
You're really interviewing each other.
Yeah, yeah.
The director is probably open to, I would say a good director is open to anybody.
Correct.
But that's ideal. But you don't have to be open to any director.
Yeah.
You're choosing this relationship.
Yeah.
Well, the director is too, but I think you know what I'm saying.
I guess a year ago when I was looking for a new director, so some of the personal longings were to meet with someone in person in Winnipeg, to be hosted in an actual space. I wanted to be asked questions that felt important, and I want someone who could hold silence for me or with me and was comfortable with silence. Those were kind of some of the initial things I was looking for. And I met with two directors. I won't say who they were, of course, for obvious reasons. But I met with two directors, and it became very clear from sitting down with them that they were not going to be what I wanted. And so even though we had some initial correspondence by email or initial conversation, actually sitting down with them and meeting them, and like you said, interviewing them, made it really clear that this was not going to be a fit. And actually, they were kind enough to offer me sort of an introductory appointment. So I had a sort of a trial run spiritual direction session with them. And by the end of that time, it was like even more clear, like, okay, I think they're gifted. I think I can see the good qualities, but this is not what I'm looking for right now.
Yeah. I had the same experience many years ago when I was having my midlife crisis and I needed a spiritual director, obviously. And I contacted somebody who was open to meeting with me. But one thing that he said clarified for me that I did not want a relationship with this person, because he said it could be mutual.
Right.
And I said, no. I didn't say that to him, but I said to myself, no, I need somebody who's going to work for me.
Yes.
Not somebody I'm going to have to listen to.
Yeah.
I'm not looking to direct him.
Yes.
And so I thanked him, and I said I wouldn't be pursuing this.
That's right.
Because I don't do that with people who come looking to me for direction. I don't share my stuff because they've made the commitment to come and share themselves. I'm not going to be mutual.
That's
so
right.
Anyway, that was my criterion.
Yeah. That's great. Sometimes people will reach out to me to ask if I have a director that I could recommend for them, or they have a friend who wants to find a director, and So I've also enjoyed being a source of referral to other people. And after having got so many requests, I kind of created a little template, a little questionnaire to send to people so I could consider more intentionally who to recommend for them, right?
Oh, interesting.
So I'd love to hear what you would include on your questionnaire, so to speak. These are the things that I typically ask people when they ask me, do you have a recommendation for a director? Do you have a preference for the gender of the director? Do you have a preference for the age? Like, are you okay to meet with someone older or younger than you? Do you have a preference for it being online or in person? What is your budget? What's your price range for this? And then again, is there any particular area of expertise or specialty that you want to have your director feature? Is there anything else that you would add to a questionnaire like that in encouraging what people could bear in mind in choosing a director?
Well, I'm just thinking of the Spiritual Directors of Manitoba website. All of them, the directors, do indicate who they would like to see. Like they say, I'm Catholic or Anglican or Mennonite, but I'm open to all faiths, all traditions. So that might be another question.
Like their faith tradition, you mean?
Yes.
Or, or their affiliation.
Yeah. So, I mean, some people might actually have a preference.
That's right, yeah.
So that's important.
Yeah.
The other thing that you mentioned is cost. What's their budget? We haven't talked about that, but most spiritual directors are charging something. It's a service, and nobody tries to make a living. Very few people would try to make a living doing spiritual direction. But those who are doing spiritual direction deserve some payment. And so asking that question of the director is an important feature. And I don't think anybody would turn anyone away if they couldn't pay even just part of it. But that would be up to each director.
I think it's different, obviously, in different cities and different countries and stuff, but I'll often say that like typical prices for direction could be anywhere from like $40 to $70 to $80, something like that. I currently charge $60. What did you charge when you were offering direction?
Well, because I was part of a community, we were charging $40, and then toward the end, $50. I currently pay my director $70. I just upped it from $60. Just knowing economy as being what it is. So. I do know one great man.
Say no more, Mary. Say
Gordon
no more.
Toombs. Oh, yeah. No, it's not you.
I'm glad you know one great man.
Yes. Well, this at least in this area. He was Gordon Toombs. He just died not that then many years ago. And he was quite insistent that we should not charge. That it was a service, Christian service. But he was a minister.
Yeah, that's right. So he likely got a salary for doing that.
I presume.
Payment.
Yeah. But I don't know of anybody else who doesn't require payment.
Well, my Ignatian director, Father Joseph Tetlow, never required and in fact insisted that I don't pay him. And I'm sure he had his reasons for that. It was obviously very moving for me. But this is another one of those items that directors discern, based on their stage of life, based on where they're living. I mean, there are costs that you incur to offer spiritual direction, like if you're meeting with people in person and you need to rent out a room, or if you pay for your annual registration with the Spiritual Directors Association, insurance. There's so many things that you can incur costs or expenses for. So it makes sense that you would charge to cover your expenses. And at the same time, directors are free to discern what their threshold is for charging,
yes, and what are the exceptions?
That's right, yeah.
There was a time many years ago when one of the women that I was seeing for direction was going through a divorce. And there were lots of pressures. And so she would put down on the table whatever she could $10, $15.
That's right. Yeah. I think I've heard some people charging over $80 to over even $100, and in some cases 100 US dollars for spiritual direction. And on one hand, I can understand that because it's sort of pairs with therapy and some of the prices of those other professions. And on the other hand, at least speaking personally, $60 seems more than enough for me right now. And again, it's just up to every director to discern, what do they want to charge and what are the reasons for that charge? And more importantly, are directees willing to pay that?
Yes.
Right? So, yeah. You had mentioned something about group spiritual direction.
Oh, yes.
When we were preparing for this episode. Tell me a little bit about what you were thinking in relation to group spiritual direction as it pertains to people finding a director or people taking a next step in spiritual direction.
Well, I don't know that this would be directed to directees. However, it could. There is such a thing as group spiritual direction, and your person that you've quoted many times.
Jesus?
No. Margaret Gunther.
Yeah,
I believe she wrote a book on group spiritual direction.
Okay.
And in that practice, there's one who is a spiritual director and other people who have gathered as directees. And it's facilitated by the director, and each person shares something. Now, it could be that one person or two people are on the hot seat, so to speak, each time, this time, and then another two people. So it's done in different ways. But if anybody wants to know about it, just look that book up. It's Group Spiritual Direction.
Yeah. In some ways, group spiritual direction can be a nice introduction. Because if a person doesn't want to meet one-on-one, maybe they find that a little nerve-wracking or whatever. To find a group that is doing group spiritual direction can be a nice entry point into this.
I don't know myself if there's any groups like this, but I would say if anybody's interested in gathering 2 or 3 people and finding a director who would facilitate this, it can be a very enriching. I've been part of such a direction session. Yeah.
Yes, I've had people who journey through the Ignatian exercises, particularly the shorter version of it, sometimes do it as a group, and so one director meets with them every week over the course of the exercises. And the comments I've heard from that experience of journeying with others with one director, people love it. They just love it. And so, similarly, if you yourself are listening and you think, I'm drawn to this, but I wonder if there's a way I could do it kind of as a group first and then to get comfortable with the more one-on-one. Absolutely, there is a way.
I would dare to say, if you know a spiritual director, ask if they would be willing to start a group. And then they'll come knocking at my door and saying, what have you done?
That's right. Yeah. Yes. So just to be clear, if you are wanting a director, ask Mary to facilitate a group for you, and she will say yes.
Hey, I think I backed myself into that.
Okay. Well, I have another sort of more thematic question. So this is now stepping a little bit away from the practicalities. Again, in the spirit of concluding this series, Mary, if your life didn't feature spiritual direction, either receiving it or offering it, in the decades you've been engaged in this work, what would be different for you?
Oh, I would be poorer. I would be spiritually poorer for not having the privilege of the trust of people to share their God experiences, their joys and sorrows. Yeah, I can't imagine it. Really, it was, so enriching.
What's the emotion here for you?
I feel touched. I feel grateful. Yeah. I was going to say something like sad, but no, it's not sad. It's just very touching. Yeah, as you could see, it didn't take me long to say.
No.
I wasn't anticipating that question. You jumped me. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you say it well. Very well. Well, I did obviously ask you this question, so I knew, and I had time to think about it myself. And I still don't have an answer.
That's not bad.
If I didn't have a spiritual director, I certainly wouldn't be where I am in life. And I mean that in many ways, but specifically in my own relationship with God. And even in terms of the things that I'm doing, like my vocation, I would never have had an idea to plant a community, to start a community. I too would be much the poorer for not having a director. Absolutely. I would be much more ignorant of who God is for me and how God is loving me and communicating and working in my life. How to relate to God, for sure. And I think without having the privilege of offering spiritual direction, I don't think I would be myself. This is such a big part of the gift that I sense God has given me. What I mean is, like, this is such a big gift that God has given me to invite me into this work and to be able to participate in this. And it's such a big gift because it feels so part of how I'm wired and what brings me joy in life, that if I didn't have this, I don't think I would be me. I would not be, I'd be like a shell of myself, I think.
Well, that's powerful and very, very touching. When you asked the question, I was kind of taken aback, and I was just thinking of all the directees I've had that enriched my life, and that sense of I'm trustable. And it also slowed me down because I'm very fast at almost everything I do. And in spiritual direction, I am laid back. I can live without an agenda, and I can go slow, and I can let people be themselves.
Yeah.
I try to do that in the rest of my life, but it comes easier in spiritual direction.
Yeah.
But in terms of receiving spiritual direction, I think it has been a way that God has showed me that I'm forgiven and lovable, and that I have gifts. And that's been, who could do better than that?
That's right, yeah. I could say the same. I mean, I think receiving spiritual direction and even offering spiritual direction has been a breathtaking experience of experiencing how deeply God loves me. And that's everything.
That is.
I also think that if I didn't stumble on spiritual direction, or you didn't stumble on spiritual direction, perhaps we wouldn't have been ever doing this. We would have never made a friendship such as we have, and we would have never done this, right?
That's right. Yes.
And I'm so grateful for that.
I am too, even though I think you probably felt you were twisting my arm, and I felt you were twisting my arm. But it has turned out to be a very blessed endeavor.
Well,
thank you.
You're welcome. Speaking of this endeavor, I did ask you this question. What stands out to you in this journey of recording this podcast? What stays with you?
The one story that you told about the man who came in and spent the majority of his session weeping and sighing. That stays with me because it's more about presence and what we bring through our presence than anything we say or do.
Yeah.
And that's so hard to believe. Really. It's just not how we're wired. We're doers, human doers. And that story tells me that we're really just human beings.
Yeah. Well, do you want to know what stands out to me?
Suhail, what stands out to you in these sessions that we've been having?
It's the story you told of your friend who worked for years in the prison. And when she was clearing out her office, noticed, that white powdery substance on the carpet. And she realized the years of tears, the salt from the tears of all of those gentlemen who had sat in her office and in that very spot, like wept into the rug. I mean, that, in the best sense possible, that haunts me.
Interesting that both stories are about tears.
Yeah.
And the mystics, even St. Benedict, whom I don't think of as a mystic, but he talks about the gift of tears. And those tears have been a gift to those two people that we were talking about in those stories, but also to us.
I think we are experiencing the gift of tears now, you and I.
Amen.
Oh, I didn't imagine this happening.
No. That was a beautiful way to conclude our time.
Yeah.
Good man.
Our hope is that this podcast deepens understanding, appreciation, and engagement with spiritual direction, encourages the vocation of spiritual directors, whether you're feeling drawn to this work in training, already practicing, or helping form others in this ministry. And finally, our hope is that these conversations reflect how spiritual direction feels in our listening, pacing, questions, and focus on the experience of God. We want to see spiritual direction help individuals, communities, and the church flourish. And that concludes Season 1 of Listen with Love, Conversations about Spiritual Direction. I'm Suhail Stephen.
And I'm Mary Coswin.
And much love to you, Mary, and to our listeners, and God bless.
God bless, Suhail.
Amen.